Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my RPG Maker VX Ace video tutorials. And in this episode we're going to be looking at the variables with more details. So I'm going to be telling you some things that you can do with the variables. So let's get started. So the variables. So to control variables, there's multiple things you could do using via variable controls. So let's start with this first little square right here. So before you actually control a variable, you have to pick which variable that you actually want to control. So you could control a single variable or a batch of variables. So what batch means that it will control every single variable between these two numbers. So what do I mean by these two numbers? So let's say you set the second number to 2. That means it will control variables 1 and 2. And if you set it to 3, it will control variables 1 through 3. And if you set it to 1000, it will control variables 1 through 1000. I don't know why you would need to do that, but the option is there for you. And I don't even think this goes up to 1000, does it? I think it goes up to 500. Whatever, I don't care. So at the oh my gosh, okay, single variables, here you can name your variables and blah blah blah. Single variables, I'm pretty sure most people are aware of what you do with that. So let's set that back to single variable, and we're going to go ahead and just name this test because we're going to be testing with it. Okay, so now we have operations. So I actually know what all of these things do except for the mod. I don't know what that mod does, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with this division one, but still don't know what it means. Okay, set is very simple. All it does is set a variable to any of these things that you pick. Add means it will take these values and add it onto the variable, and subtract it is going to take these values that are in. I'm actually pointing to the screen thinking you guys are seeing that, so let me use my mouse. So append, okay, set is going to take these values that you pick down here and set it to the variable. Add is going to pick these values that you set down here and add it to the variable. Subtract is going to take these variables that you pick and subtract it to the variable. So and so on, except for that mod, which I don't know what it does. It's some kind of division. I don't really know. So we're going to be using set for this example. So the constant means that you actually set the number or add the number or subtract the number. So you could set this variable to the number 1, and that variable will be 1. Or you could add the number 1 to it. So if the variable was at 10, you could add 1 to it. If it was at 7, you could add 1 to it, making it 8. If it's at 10, you could subtract 1, making it 9. If it's at 10, you could multiply it by 2, making it 20. And if it's at 10, you could divide it by 2, making it 5. And so on, except for that mod. I don't know what it does. Okay, variable. This is again like the constant, but only it's actually taking another variable instead of the number that you're setting. So let's say you have this flower variable, and let's say you've collected. If you've familiar with my series, this flower variable keeps a track of how many flower items we actually have in our inventory. So let's say we have 10 flowers in our inventory. So what you could do now is take that 10 flowers and set it to the number of test, to the variable test. So that means if you have 10 flowers, then you also have 10 tests. And if you have 11 tests, you have if you have 11 flowers, then you have 11 tests, which is complicatedly confusing for me right now. So random is one of my favorite things you could do with a variable when you're controlling them. So what it does is basically set the variable that you're using, which is if you're using a batch or a single, basically just take all those variables and set them between a number between the first number that you pick and the second number. So let's say if I make this 1 and I make this 10. So what can I do with what does that mean? That means it will take a random number between 1 and 10, including 1 and 10, a random number between and including 1 and 10, and set it to that to the variable. So I'm going to tell you what these things are useful for after I've actually gone through all of them. So actually, let me skip game data right now because it's a lot of options in there. So script is where things get complicated. So you could do stuff like 1 plus 1 minus 2. So basically, if you know Ruby, then you could, well, not Ruby, if you know RGSS3, then you could be doing stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure this is an accepted value. If you actually did this, it would work. So, oh yeah, so basically what this does is if you don't want it to be a simple constant or variable or something, that you want something more complex, maybe you want it to be a game variable divided by something. I actually forgot what it is, but it will go something like game variable, and then something like that, and then with a $sign at the start, something like that. But I don't know if that's the correct syntax for it, but I'm just gonna say it is. Okay, so basically you could do something like this and then multiply that by 10. Let's say 10. So basically what this will do now is make this variable and set it to game variable 1, which is I believe is flowers. So basically what this would do is, so okay, let's say we have 5 flowers in our inventory. So what this would do is set the test into 5 times 10, making it 50. So instead of us just having the 5 flowers we have in our inventory, we now have 50. So that's what variables could do. You could do some other stuff with that, but I don't really know because I'm not a scripter and I'm not that much familiar. I mean, I know some Ruby, but that's basically it. So let's jump back to game data. Check up on our time for 6 minutes. We're making good timing. So game data. This is basically where some stuff happens, I guess. So basically these are if you want to control your variables based on the stuff that are in the game data, you could keep a track of how many items you have in your inventory, how many of the items you have in your inventory, how many of the weapon that you have in your inventory, how many of armor that you have in your inventory. Also, you could keep a track of the an actor's level, EXP, HP, MP, and some other stuff like that. And also you could keep a track of certain enemies' stats, of course, and character. The character one is it has nothing to do with the stuff in the database. It has to do with the maps, with the map that you're in. So basically you could this list changes based on the map that you are on. So since I'm on this map, I have this event, which is this event that we're working on, event ID number 1, number 2, number 3, and NPC. And just to show you, if we actually took this event and let's say we moved it to here, let's move it to this map and go ahead and check this again, you will see that the list of event that we have changes. I mean, it didn't change because some events aren't actually named. Like this one is an event 11. I didn't name it, so it will stick with the generic name. But if we were controlling event ID number 1 and then we took it to another map, it's gonna be controlling the event ID number 1 on that other map, and it's not the same thing. So basically, as you can see, we don't have the NPC event any longer because it's not there, because it's in another map. So we're actually gonna control the player with this one. So, and then what you could keep track of using the character selection is you could keep track of the player or event map X and map Y. What that means is your location on the map, your coordinates on the map, and we could keep a track of that direction, which is if you're facing up, down, left, or right. And then we could we could keep a track of the screen X and screen Y, which don't confuse this with the map X and map Y. This is your location on the screen that you're looking at, and not your location on the map that you're walking on. Okay, party. So party is, we could use this to keep a track of the actor's ID. So let's say party member number 1, and then let's say party member number 1 has the actor ID of number 3, then it's going to be the variable, it's going to change to 3. And if it's let's say party member number 8 has the actor ID of 1, it's going to change to 1, and the actor ID can be located at the actor, and their IDs. It's like this one is 1, and then you could see actor ID number 2, and so on. Back to the event. Variables. Variable. This might be a long video. 10 minutes, okay. Okay, so let's go back to others. So we could keep a track of map ID, party members, how many party members you have in your inventories, how many party members you have in your party, how many gold you have, how many steps you have, play time, how long have you been playing the game, timer. I actually think this keeps track of the I don't know. What does timer keep track of? I don't know. Save count, how many times have you saved the games, and battle count, how many battles have you been in? I don't know what time it does, but if I have to take a guess, I would say it keeps track of the timer that you actually can set, which is I actually forgot which page is on. I think it's the last page. No, let's try the first one. Timer, control timer. So that's what I actually I think it just whatever value that is, I think it just keeps track of it. I don't actually know what it does. In the next episode, we're going to be discussing what these things are useful for, but the random, what can you actually do with that, and what would you want to do with it, and so on. And that's it for this episode. I will see you guys next time.